Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Maria Parham, editorial page editor for the Arizona Daily Star. In tonight's AZ Illustrated Metro, we'll visit a program at the Pima County Public Library that's helping children learn to read. Then we'll ask an expert about the trends in the retail shopping industry and how our behavior as consumers is changing. We'll find out about the state of foster care in Pima County and visit the medical examiner's office to learn about a new tool helping identify remains found in the desert. But first, a look at today's top stories.
Some airline passengers may soon find it easier to get through security checkpoints at Tucson International Airport. Within a few months, passengers who've been given pre-approved security benefits could breeze through the lines. They won't have to take off their shoes or jackets or remove their laptops and toiletries and have them scanned separately by the X-ray. The Transportation Security Administration is adding expedited security screening at TIA later this year. The TSA PreCheck program lets U.S. citizens who are part of certain airlines' frequent flyer programs apply for expedited benefits. TSA officials say 40 major airports are already using the program, and now TIA is on a list of 60 more that are adding it. Travelers will be able to apply for the expedited screening later this year. The U.S. Department of Energy is giving nearly $2.5 million in grant money to a local company. Tucson-based Sigma Technologies International Group is receiving the grant for their work in capacitors. The problem with current capacitors is they are stuck with shape, size, and temperature limitations. That's where Sigma Technologies comes in. Sigma makes a material that could allow the design of capacitors to be changed, fixing what is currently a major weak spot for hybrid and electric vehicles. And Arizona Governor Jan Brewer is appealing the federal government's decision not to declare the town of Yarnell a disaster area following the Yarnell Hill fire earlier this summer. The fire destroyed more than 100 homes and claimed the lives of 19 wildland firefighters. In denying the state's initial request for disaster aid, FEMA said state and local resources could take care of the needs of Yarnell. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Parents and teachers say sometimes it's hard to get kids interested in reading books. That's why many branches of the Pima County Public Library are offering a unique program. In it, children can practice their reading skills in front of someone who might be less intimidating than the adults in their lives.
To eat, said Shaggy. Keepers called Daphne.
5-year-old Ben Walsh is a regular at the Himmel Park Library.
To help with dizzy animals.
His mom says Homer the dog has a lot to do with the little boy's love of reading and his advanced skills. Ben, like many other kids, visits public libraries throughout Pima County to participate in the Read to a Dog program, where kids can sit next to a therapy dog and read to it.
Well, the program is designed to provide an opportunity for children to have a stress-free environment to enjoy reading. And it's meant to be a kind of a relaxing and fun opportunity so that as they're reading, they don't feel that there's judgment. And so they feel more comfortable, and then as they feel more comfortable, their confidence level increases.
Darby says many kids feel embarrassed to read out loud. But when reading to a dog who is always listening and never judging, the fear and embarrassment go away. Beth Rubio is the librarian at the Himmel branch. She says throughout the years, she has seen many success stories with this program.
One particular child was really struggling, and the mom would come to me and say, well, how can we improve her reading? She's, just very uncomfortable with it. And I said, well, why don't you bring her to Read to the Dog, and let's see if that would help make her feel a little more at ease and a little more comfortable. So the child came, and she started coming when she was about 6, and she's now 8. And she's a fluent reader and loves to read and comes in weekly to check out.
Originally, she thought the program would be for second or third graders who were struggling with reading, but Rubio says it attracts kids of all ages.
You want to read a story?
Toddlers would go over and find a board book, and they'd sit down and they'd yammer away like they were reading. They'd turn the pages. The book might be upside down. It doesn't matter. The dog doesn't care, and the child doesn't know any better. But it's all part of learning how to read. So it's just been a beautiful experience all the way around.
Connor Latimer is 7 years old. He's at the library with his younger sister Lily and their mother.
I was reading to the dog. I was thinking I was going to do homework first, but instead I did the dog first.
Connor says he has always been around dogs and enjoys reading to Homer.
I like animals, and this is baby animals, and I like platypuses and donkeys a lot, so I chose to read this book.
This is not Connor's first time reading to a dog. In fact, when he got home after reading to Homer last time, he tried to read to his own dog, but it just wasn't the same.
He keeps chasing me around the yard when I try to read him.
There are more than a dozen dogs involved in the program at 11 branches of the Pima County Public Libraries. Most of them are assigned to a specific library branch.
They're all shapes, sizes, colors, and hairstyles. And so there's a dog for every child.
Here, many kids know Homer the dog by name.
Hi, my name is Judy Christensen, and I am the handler for Homer, who is a therapy dog. You want to roll over on your back? Homer is a rescue from the local animal shelter. I volunteer there, and he came in as a stray and sat in a kennel for about 5 weeks. Nobody looked at him, nobody took him out, and he just sat back and watched people go by. And one day I decided that he'd been there long enough, and I took him home.
As Christensen got to know Homer, she realized he would make a great therapy dog. Like other therapy dogs in the Read to a Dog program, Homer is calm, he is interested in people, and is able to focus on a child no matter what distractions might be around him. Christensen says coming to the library once a week with Homer is rewarding for both, the dog and her.
I like to see the children, and to me it's like a family. I enjoy watching Homer interact with the children. I'm glad to be able to do something in the community.
Lily was one of about 5 kids that read to Homer. Most of them read an entire book.
He likes it. He doesn't care if I don't know the words. Holding up another gold coin. Wait a minute.
Shoppers are increasingly spending their money in digital stores. That's producing a new direction for retailers. Anita Bhappu is a professor of retailing and consumer sciences at the U of A. She participated in the U of A's annual Global Retailing Conference. It draws big names to Tucson to discuss innovations and trends in the industry. I spoke with her earlier this year and asked her to start by explaining how big online retailing is now. So, how big is online retailing getting?
Well, in a recent report actually issued by City Research just last week, the retailing numbers for e-commerce topped $1 trillion globally in 2012, and they're predicted to surpass $1.3 trillion in 2013. So it's a big market.
But how does that compare then with the whole retailing? What percentage, what proportion
So in the
is it?
U.S., that's roughly about 6.5% of all retail sales. So when you consider that number, it's a small portion of the larger marketplace that we're talking about. But when you look at the growth rates, especially outside of the U.S., online retailing, and in particular, we term it e-commerce, represents a lot of opportunity. So growth rates are on average 18+%. And when you're talking about markets like China and other Asian markets such as Korea, India, we're talking sometimes triple-digit growth rates in the e-commerce side of the market.
And who's out there shopping? Who's the typical customer?
Well, I think that it depends where you're at, in which locale. We've been doing some research in the US and also in some European markets, where we looked at fashion products in particular, which are one of the two top categories of what's purchased online. And in the fashion goods area of the market, what we term the digital divas are roughly 23% of the shoppers out there shopping. And they are highly engaged online. So if you look at their profile, they're likely to be the ones buying most of what you see sold online right now.
Well, we've heard the expression showrooming, that people are going to bricks and mortar stores, checking out what they like, and then either at the store or going home and actually doing the ordering. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, showrooming is an issue that many of the traditional brick and mortar retailers are actually concerned about. And essentially what that means is they have customers coming into their stores, the physical stores, to check out the merchandise that they're interested in, and then either in-store on their mobile device or back at home on a computer device of some kind, they're ordering those products from other online retailers or competitors who have them at a better price. And so what that represents for the retailer that essentially is hit with showrooming is a lost sale and an added cost, because you've essentially provided a sale to your competitor by physically providing the merchandise for inspection. And so there are several retailers concerned about it and really are considering different options for how to handle showrooming in the industry right now.
So which retailers are really concerned, and what are they doing about it, especially the retailers that we have here in Tucson?
Well, I think if you think about the big physical retailers most people think about, so you think about Macy's, Walmart, Penny's, Target actually in particular had some very aggressive strategies against showrooming this past Christmas holiday season. And some of the things that Target did in particular is they offered price matching. So they essentially said, we'll match price of any online retailer as well as any competitor in the local marketplace. So that's one reason then to keep the sale in-house, because you don't need to go check. You can check a price, but they'll match your price in store and you'll buy it from them. So they did that. They also enabled shoppers in store to order product that was out of stock, for example, in the toy section, and have it delivered for free either to someone you wanted to gift that product to and or your own home. So if you're shopping with your kids, for example, at Christmas time, and you see your child is particularly interested in a toy, but you're not going to buy it right there because they're standing, you could scan the QR code and order it right in store with no knowledge to the child who would be getting that from Santa at Christmas time. So some of these things were really successful for Target in those strategies.
Now, I think of Amazon as being the Amazon in the market.
Yes.
Literally. Is that true?
Amazon,
in the U.S., who's the biggest player?
Amazon's a very big player in the U.S., but there are other large retailers such as Walmart and others, because of the volume of their sales, or also have a pretty significant presence online. But Amazon, because it's a pure play, it is only an e-tailer. It doesn't have a physical presence, has all of its assets on the online shopping platform. And in that sense, it is the behemoth to consider.
Well, one of the things I've noticed is once you affiliate yourself with a business, you are inundated with emails every single day, and it gets where it's easy to kind of overlook what they're even trying to market to you to get you to buy online. Professionally, what kind of strategies are being offered to these companies to hit some happy medium there?
Well, I think it comes down to the retailers in question and them knowing who their customers are. So obviously as a customer, you can opt out of emails and all kinds of online marketing, or e-marketing, if you will. But what's interesting is when you look at where customers get their information from, 92% of customers globally trust recommendations from friends and family versus 58% from companies, and that's a big deal.
Well, thanks so much for being here. Good luck with the conference.
Thank you.
President Obama took his case overseas today to bolster support for a military strike on Syria.
A key Senate committee backed the use of force. We talk with White House Deputy National Security Advisor Tony Blinken and Republican Senator Deb Fischer of Nebraska.
I have many concerns. We need to look at the consequences of any action that we take in Syria.
Then Al-Qaeda's fight against American drones and the black budget behind U.S. intelligence. We examine the latest revelations from classified information leaked by Edward Snowden.
Roughly 1 out of every 6 New Yorkers is over the age of 65. Hari Srinivasan reports on efforts to make the Big Apple a little more age-friendly.
And are colleges too focused on career training? Jeffrey Brown sits down with the author of the new book, Why Teach? That's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
Daniel Woodrell wrote his novel Winter's Bone about drug dealers in the Ozarks, where he lives.
One of the interesting things about the Ozarks is you just about don't have street crime or anything. It's strictly between people who know each other.
I'm Renee Montaigne. Woodrell's new novel looks back at a real event in his Ozarks hometown on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Thousands of children are in foster care in Pima County. Not all of them are with families, though. Some are in group homes or shelters. Chris Swenson-Smith joined me in the studio in May to discuss this situation and what can be done about it. She is the Director of Children and Family Services at the Pima County Juvenile Court. I asked her to summarize the state of foster care. Can you start by just characterizing the situation for foster care in Pima County for us?
Right now it's woefully and sadly inadequate. We really don't have enough foster homes for the number of children who are in need of protection right now.
And so tell us about the number of children. I understand it's gone up from 2,800 a couple of years ago all the way to 4,000. What's happening here?
Even in the last year, a year ago this month, there were 1,000 fewer children who were dependent in Pima County. So just in the last year, there's been an increase of 1,000 more children who are abused or neglected. No one can ever say for sure what's happening when you have an increase like that, but we do have a really, really bad drug and alcohol problem in Pima County, and about 70% of dependency cases are related to parental substance abuse.
Now, how many of these children are, we've mentioned in our intro that not all of them can go to foster care. Can you outline for us how many actually go to foster homes and how many go to other places?
We actually do a really great job of finding relative or kin placements for many children who are wards of the state. And I think they do much better when they're with people that they know and with family members. It's also cost-saving for the state. About 37% of kids are in foster homes, but we could use a lot more foster homes than we do now. A lot of times kids have to go into shelters or group homes, and what's happening right now is many, many children are placed in licensed foster homes in other counties, including Maricopa County and some rural counties. That makes it so difficult for them to be first traumatized by the abuse and neglect, secondly by the removal from their home, and third to be in a community where they don't know anybody.
Right. Now, if someone wants to help here, how can they become a foster parent? Is that a long, drawn-out process? Can you describe it for us?
It's a lot easier than most people think, and foster parents, good foster parents, come from every walk of life. It shouldn't cost you any money to do it. Licensed foster parents are reimbursed for the care of the children who are with them. And there's a website that they can go to, Foster and Adoptive Council of Tucson.org. It's a good place to start.
And we will put those up on our website for viewers who want to go after the program's over, yes.
And sometimes people find or they know that they're unable to provide 24/7 care to a child, but there are still other things that members of our community can do to help these kids. One is to become a court-appointed special advocate.
Can you explain what that is and what it entails for people?
It's a volunteer who's specially trained and certified to advocate for a child in a dependency case. So they are sort of the eyes and ears of the judge. They see a child or a sibling group very frequently. They get financial support so they don't have to spend any of their own money to take the child on outings, for example. and they go into court and let the judge know what's going on in that child's life. And they're that one consistent adult who can go see them if they're out of county or any place they happen to be, and can be in touch with the child for their behavioral health needs, for their educational needs, and just for anything that they need.
Is there a time commitment for someone to be involved in this, and do you commit for a year and it's so many hours a month?
Yes, we ask that a CASA commit for the life of one case. So if the child's case lasts a year or the child's case lasts 2 years, we ask that they just stick it out so that the child doesn't have to transition to still another new person in their life. And most CASAs are able to do that.
What's the difficulty in getting people to become foster parents and to take in children? Is that partly a financial issue? What's causing some of the problems here in getting people to volunteer to do this or to sign up to do it?
I think the biggest barrier is that people have a misconception of what these kids are like. And what they find is that once a child feels safe, everything, their behavior, their school performance, their mental health, all of those improve when they just feel safe. And most of the kids are small. About half of those 4,000 children are 5 and under.
Now, last week, the Arizona Senate gave preliminary approval to a budget that included $9 million more for child protective services. How is that going to impact what you're able to do here with foster care in Pima County?
Well, my hope is that not as many kids will come into care. Some of that money will go to support the children that are already dependent children. But I think if the state is able to re-implement many of the prevention programs that were in place a few years ago, we're going to find that far fewer children are abused and neglected. Those that are will be able to remain in home safely with some intensive services with their family, which is so much better for kids.
So $1 million of that $9 million is supposed to go to grandparents. Just how common is that in Pima County that grandparents are taking in their grandchildren?
Very common. It's something we do quite a bit. We often have grandparents show up at the very first court hearing and say, we're here to provide a safe placement for our grandchildren. And if CPS can very quickly do a home study and a background check, that happens often. And if the judges see those grandparents in court, they are so grateful to know that the children are with people that they love.
Chris, thanks so much for being here. The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office has a new tool with data on immigrant deaths in the Sonoran Desert. It's available to law enforcement and the public. Fernanda Chavarri has our story.
Since January of 2001, more than 2,100 bodies categorized as undocumented migrants have been found within the jurisdiction of the Pima County Office of the Medical Examiner. Now, most of those deaths are recorded on a website that maps out the data.
When you go to the general search map, say the map of migrant mortality again,
Gregory Hess is the chief medical examiner for Pima County. He says the online database has been in the making for 8 years, and there is nothing else like it in the U.S.
And then here in southern Arizona, it's a unique population because we're interested in migrant deaths, because we've been the primary location for migrant deaths of people crossing from Mexico into the United States, for probably the last 12, 13 years.
For categorization purposes, the Office of the Medical Examiner uses the term migrant for someone who was actively in the process of crossing the Sonoran Desert, most of the times on foot. Hess says the method is not perfect, but in thousands of cases, only a couple of the bodies have turned out not to be migrants.
In some instances, we don't know for sure when we find remains if they are not a U.S. citizen or they're not a Native American from the Tohono O'odham Nation, but based on the effects that they have with them or the circumstances where they're found, the assumption is that it's consistent with somebody that's migrating in the United States across the desert. And most of the time when we do identify people, it turns out we're right.
He says the $175,000 project was funded by an anonymous donor. The medical examiner's office and the nonprofit organization Humane Borders are working together on the website, which will be updated quarterly.
Until the money runs out, and then we'll have to look for another fund. It's hard to make policy decisions if you don't know where people are dying. So having a spatial representation of where that is can be helpful for that purpose.
The website, humaneborders.info, has numbers that go back to 2001. Visitors can narrow down the search by a person's name, gender, cause of death, year of death, or where the body was found. Hess says most deaths are by exposure to natural elements.
Essentially, if the bodies we receive are decomposed to the point where we can't do a full examination, we don't know why they died. But of the people that we can do a full examination, the majority of them have died from environmental causes, either hyperthermia being too hot or hypothermia being too cold, plus or minus dehydration. And we lump all that into a category we call exposure or exposure to the elements.
He says the online tool will help the medical examiner's staff.
We find remains spread in part by time. So we may find a left femur or a left bone from the leg in 2005 in a particular area of the desert, and then a couple of years later we get a report of a skeletal remains found, and maybe it's a right femur and a pelvis and a skull, and we think, well, these are fragmented or incomplete remains. Is it possible we recovered portions of this individual earlier in time? We can use this database to search around a radius from where those remains are found and pull up all the remains that we've recovered from 2001 on with an X distance and say, oh, this could be the same individual.
This is really fresh.
The website is also designed to help anthropologists, researchers, and humanitarian aid groups like Humane Borders, who can use the information to map out where to put water stations. Hess says the information can also be used by law enforcement agencies, who can use the data to track patterns in trafficking and deaths.
If you're the sheriff's department, it might help with staffing. If you have a small, like in Ajo, Arizona, which is the far west portion of the county, how many deaths are out there versus on the Tohono O'odham Nation. What kind of vehicles do you need? Is it accessible by roadway, or do you need an ATV, or do you need a helicopter?
People looking for missing family members can access the online mapping system from anywhere in the world, and parts of the site are in Spanish.
This will allow somebody to look at a geographic area, pull up all the remains that were found, have a description of those remains, and see if it's consistent with the person that we're looking for, or if somebody needs to go look, or if there's something else that needs to be done. So essentially, this is a male. We don't know who it is. That's why it says John Doe.
Many hope that by having information available online, the hundreds of nameless remains of migrants, mostly from Mexico and Central America, can be identified.
To comment on any of today's stories or keep up with the latest news, go to our website, azpm.org. I'm Maria Parham. Thanks for watching.